Uche comes back to make his grand appearance again. He said, I'm the messy bitch. You thought Johnny was the messy bitch. You thought Izzy was the messy bitch.
The
Stop
fact
playing with my name.
the fact that Carter gave him an intro song of "Hey, we want some Uche." Uche's like, "Yes, I'm that bitch. I'm here to start some shit. Let's go." Looks at the food and immediately goes, "Lydia, can we talk?"
She said Aquarian things, Nigerian things.
Well, when she spooned like a BB moment, which is like a beautiful black moment. Did we get any of those in this episode?
Black. We have a chaotic vibe moment of the
chaotic vibe moment. And you're watching Black by Reality.
Black by Baddies.
And those who love us.
Hello, you're watching Black by Reality, a place for Black by Baddies and those who love us. We are continuing our recap of Love is Blind. This is the second drop, so episodes 5 to 7. And yeah, if you are unfamiliar with the channel, then just know that we talk about pop culture here from a Black queer lens. We're also covering this current season of Big Brother. So we're going to have exit interviews every time there's an eviction. So look out for that. And yeah, we're continuing our Love is Blind here. So I have my co-host for this series, Quita. Hello, Quita.
Hi there.
Hi. Yeah, so these new episodes, I just want to like apologize to you, Quita, because before I came on here with my foundation and my eyeliner, and it was just so fake. And this is Black by Reality, okay? Not Black by falsies.
Well, you know, today I came in solidarity with all the fakers out there. I didn't do my caked up foundation, but you know, I have my false eyelashes and I have my lip gloss because I believe in being fake, putting on fakeness to the world.
Wow, that was brave. That was very brave of you to say. Oh my God. Could we have predicted where the whole JP and Taylor situation? I thought they were going to be our steady, even boring couple.
Literally, I thought they were going to be boring. And I was just like, JP, I was rooting for you, even against my own concerns about you being this love of red, white, and blue.
Mm-hmm.
I still was kind of rooting for you is probably a bit much, but
wow. Maybe indifferent to you.
There we go. Right. I didn't dislike you. I was just like, okay, JP and Taylor. Now I'm like, wow, JP, you can go somewhere.
JP. Exactly. Well, let's start with JP and Taylor. As you know, we break down our recaps by couple. So episode picks up with all the couples being in Mexico, and you know, this couple, they enter the room, there's a violinist. They were like, this is new. And they kiss a couple times, but Taylor's like, wow, our first meeting was awkward, right? She said she cried.
Yeah.
And this man gave her nothing on that. He didn't reassure her or anything. He was just like, it's all good.
Right. She started to remind me of Danielle. Is that her name? Nick and Danielle.
Yeah.
But whereas Nick was very like comforting and was trying to be there for her, was literally in the closet with her, JP just left Taylor hanging. He was like,
completely hanging. You could tell she just had anxiety and yet good intuition, because she just knew something was wrong, and this man was playing games. So it does get very repetitive, honestly, their scenes, because she's just trying to ask him questions, pull out anything. This man doesn't give like more than a sentence answer, and like he apparently, when the camera's away, he even said, you can really talk.
I'm sorry. Are we just supposed to sit here in silence together? Or
truly, yeah, they had an ATV date. That seemed like things were going pretty well. I did clock. He was like, "Ooh, your freckles are out. Like those." So here we go. But who could have expected when they finally are getting ready for bed and she's just like, it's been awkward. He says she's harping on their first meeting being awkward. So this is kind of her fault. And she was like, okay, but it was awkward the second night, the third night, the fourth night. And finally, this man fixes his mouth and says that he looked at her the first meeting and she had all of this makeup. He said it felt like you were fake. He said she had a caked up face, and it left makeup on his jacket. And yeah, he was just wondering in his head ever since then, is this going to be every day? And she was like, so how I looked on that very first day changed how you communicated with me. And he didn't have any critical thinking of, that's an interesting way she phrased it. He was just like, yes.
Right. And up until that point, I was like, is it that maybe Taylor isn't as attracted to JP as she had expected or hoped to be, right? And I'm like, maybe that keeps making it awkward for her, because she said to him on their first day, like, I don't usually, or did she say that in her confessional? But
she said it in the interview.
Okay, in the interview, she says, he's not typically the kind of guy that she dates, right? So I knew that she was aware of that for herself. But when he said that about the makeup, I was like, how was she ever supposed to know that? Also, it was just like, had he never dated anyone who had ever worn makeup before?
Of course he has. Of course
he has. So it was just like, sir, what are you talking about? It was all over your jacket. Sorry about it. That's just what happens. Like,
yeah. It's ridiculous. I actually wrote about this whole interaction because, like, this is a common refrain I think a lot of men say. And then they act like it's the biggest compliment. Like, he says, you know how many women would be like, oh my God, you think I'm prettier without makeup? And it's like, first of all, a lot of women aren't wearing makeup just for men. Because a lot of men don't even know makeup when they see it.
He didn't even know her eyelashes were fake in the moment until she said it.
Actually, I think he did know, but he was being sarcastic. Because remember, she was like, oh, my eyelash is going to fall off. And he was like, what? And she was like, they're fake. And he's like, yeah, I can tell. Like, when I watched it the second time, I was like, ooh, that was a little bit of a dig that she probably didn't notice.
Right. Wow,
yeah.
JP. Wow.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, first of all, she's not just wearing it for you. She's on Netflix, an international platform. It makes sense that these things that can be used in promotions and everything, she just wants to feel and look her best. It's not a wild thought to be like, oh, she's gonna put on makeup for like this really big moment. And like engagements, women get dolled up for their engagement pictures.
Right, and she might just like wearing makeup. Like, she might just like that. And so for him to be like, no, like, or just don't wear it. It's like, well, you don't get to determine that. That is for her to determine for herself. And he didn't even ask her, why she wore makeup or like, what does she like about it? He just automatically assumed she must feel insecure about herself. So
no, I think he knows. Like, he said, I know you were trying to put your best foot forward. He literally said that. But in his mind, it's like, it doesn't matter. You should be catering to what I want to see. And I don't want to see you in
that kicked up face. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, even if that's not your preference. Because like she said, when she saw him, she was like, I don't usually go for people with gap teeth. But guess what Taylor did? Taylor was still a person who like treated you as an interesting human being to get to know you. And the fact that like a lot of men use the excuse of, oh, I don't have this certain attraction, they take away the humanness, literally calling her fake as if she's not a living, breathing human.
Right. And I'm just like, what about wearing makeup indicates that she's a fake person?
It's such a lazy thing to throw out,
Right.
honestly. It's so lazy.
It's so superficial. Like, you are making a major assumption about her character, which you actually spent a lot of time getting to know her. And in the blink of an eye, you're like, oh, well, you're wearing a bunch of makeup. So everything that I thought I knew about you is now out the window because you are a fake person with your fake eyelashes.
And she kept saying, but you didn't know what I looked like before.
Literally.
So
what are you comparing me to?
Exactly.
And he kept saying he didn't really have an expectation of what, but I'm like, clearly you were picturing someone who was worn little to no makeup, would have a natural face. Because if so, you wouldn't have been so disappointed that she came out with a full face of makeup. And I didn't even think it was so caked up. Like, I wasn't even thinking that when I saw Taylor's face.
Yeah.
Like,
for me, it was a lot, but it's like, especially when you look at her without the makeup, but she still looks like the same human being, you know?
Yeah.
It's not, these men act like femmes are just these like witches.
Right.
Who literally,
Shapeshifters.
they love being like, it's a whole other face. You could still tell what that person looks like, and it's all just like preference, right? There's such thing as like a light beat,
right?
And she went full beat because it's her moment to get engaged on television, and that's her prerogative. But like, yeah, she didn't wear makeup after that, and he's still losing his mind. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. So, what did you think of how she handled the big confrontation?
I felt like she was very level-headed.
Yes.
And kind in the moment, even though he was saying things that I'm sure felt hurtful to her. Because the fact that she like ended it by saying like, I still care about you, and like gave him a hug. Because I feel like after he told me I was fake for wearing makeup, I would have been like, okay. And the way he said, like when she had said she was gonna take space, or at one point he's like, well, I don't care. Like, he made that kind of quip at her, and I'm just like, sir, like, why are you escalating the situation right now with her when she's been trying for 4 days to get to the heart of the issue of why y'all aren't clicking?
Yeah. I think she like, it was like obviously a very uncomfortable conversation, but I could tell she was just happy of like, okay, we're getting somewhere.
You told me the truth, right?
So
she's saying words.
Exactly. So she was like very level-headed and was just asking more questions, even though the answers didn't make sense. And then she was like, okay, now that I know where your head's at, I am going to take space and go to a different room. The next day, looks like in the morning, she sat there. I think she looked amazing. First of all, to dump him, it was like a real in between of like the makeup, non-makeup look, and she was just like, yeah. So I thought about it, and I thought what you said about my makeup was an excuse, which it was. But we could just agree to disagree there, and we're just gonna go home separately, child.
Period. I was like, okay, Taylor.
Yes.
And I knew she was about to dump him when he asked her a question and she said, like, it was like, oh, Taylor's done with you. And she's here to break the news to you right now.
Love it for her. Love it for her. She said, and I loved that at the beginning of her journey, she actually talked about, like, I didn't really love myself in the past, but I'm at a place where I do, and I'm ready to love someone else. And I was like, yes to the amount of self-love that she was like, I've seen all that I needed to see.
Period.
JP did finally say that he apologized for making her feel that way, which I liked the wording of that, because it's like, yeah, you made her feel that way.
Right. You did.
But there was like nothing else to say.
Literally.
But either way, this was great, but it also means for season 5 we have just 2 engaged couples.
Right. I was like, damn, is anybody gonna get married? Is anybody gonna make it? Well, clearly we see like 2 people are gonna make it to the aisle, but woo.
Ooh, we are down bad.
Down bad, falling apart.
Okay, so Izzy and Stacy seem to be real into each other in Mexico. They're cuddling, they're making out. And Stacy says that she didn't think she was gonna be this comfortable with him, but she feeling it. And Izzy was like, "Oh, I knew I was feeling you." So
right, and I think also because Izzy was talking about himself like he wasn't fine in the pods. I was like, "Sir, I get it. You're insecure about your bald head, but sir, you do look good."
Yeah.
And so I feel like Stacy, like, this man is fine, and I'm trying to jump his bones every chance I get. Honestly,
absolutely. They are also pretty funny. Like, I liked that the next morning, Stacy was like, "Yeah, we broke the barrier," which I don't know what kind of hooking up went on, but then they were like, "And we broke the toilet."
Right. Like, let's go check to see if we need to call maintenance.
Yeah. So Izzy tells the camera that he feels like he's with his best friend, which is absolutely what you want in a relationship. So things are looking good and things are natural. So like the complete opposite of JP and Homegirl. So yeah, and they play mini golf at one point. There's some jokes. There's a lot of sexual tension because there's a lot of jokes about that during this. But then, and this is kind of cute, so they do start talking about sex in a way, and then Izzy admitted that he was nervous around Stacy when it comes to the bedroom because he's so into her. And Stacy is like, "You should go for it. You can just like bend me over a counter." It's like,
period. I was like, "Stacy, let him know. Let him know what's up."
Exactly. She's like, "I know you got it in you, so you're gonna have to like get over that." And
like, me up, bend me over. I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Throw me around. And she calls him daddy multiple times.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
I was like, oh, she's letting him know. Like, wow. I picked up on that. I was like, is she calling him daddy during mini golf right now?
Yes. She does it in so many other contexts, just out in public. And it's like, damn, girl, like, your real daddy's gonna be watching.
Right.
Which we see him later. Right. She looks just like him.
She does.
Oh my god. We find out that Stacy's family is completely like supportive of this wedding, apparently. While Izzy's mom is feeling less sure. He said that Izzy's mom knows that he has been unsure about women in the past and have lost interest. And Stacy's like, yeah, that's my exact fear.
Because she thinks he's a fuckboy. She said that multiple times. Yeah.
It gives that energy. So it's like, I don't know. He seems really into her, so we'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. That we leave Mexico, and Izzy says that he's excited to see Stacy's place. This is very interesting because this is where we get to what's different about them. Stacy's in a whole home that's being renovated. She is talking about all the things she wants to like change. She talks about finances and how they really need to dig deep on that. And she takes her home very seriously. Izzy's like, yeah, I'm into doing 50-50. It's like, ugh, social media is gonna eat up this conversation. Do you have any opinions on the 50-50 conversation?
I mean, before I dive into that, the moment Stacy brought that up, I immediately flashed back to Johnny being like, and he has bad credit.
Yep.
And Izzy's body language, he immediately started looking stressed in the face, like a vein in the side of his head started like getting bigger. His jaw was like clenching. I was like, oh, like this is where we get to the things that can stress them out or cause conflict. I mean, I think my opinion on this is each couple gets to determine how they want to handle finances and the 50-50 thing. I think you can make the determination that you want to, but y'all have to match or either compromise around it, right? So I'm like, it feels like immediately they're not a perfect match around this because he believes in 50-50 and she believes the man pays for everything. Because I also know some couples, it just depends on the finances. If one person makes way more than the other person, then they might have a more equitable split that the other person will pay more than the partner who makes less. It's very gendered, right? And while I don't believe in it for myself because I'm queer. I believe that people get to decide what they want to do because it's like there are also a bunch of men who are like, I pay for everything, right? So I'm like, we are all in choice around how we want to do it. But if they don't get on the same page around it, it's going to keep causing conflict. Because if he wants to go Dutch every meal, clearly Stacy is not going to go for that.
No. I completely agree. Being a queer woman and seeing the heteros fight over 50-50 and all that, I'm like, this is the headache. I feel like you guys got bigger things.
Way bigger issues.
Bigger fish to fry. The way capitalism is set up on everybody. Like,
and I'm like, honestly, the data shows that more and more women are making more on average than men, right? And like, if we want to stay with this like very gendered binary way of thinking for heteros, I'm like, so reality is y'all actually can't keep holding on to this 50-50 idea too hard because if you exclusively date cishet men, odds are you probably are making more than them.
And we should probably say like non-white heteros, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's where, first of all, the whole like the man being the breadwinner was almost like never part of our history.
Right.
Like both people always had to work after slavery. So it's a fantasy. A lot of Black women are playing into a fantasy that was really never ours.
Right.
Like,
yeah. And the gap is only getting worse because Black women's salaries on average are growing and Black men's are not growing at the same pace. So it's like, and I think this is also a thing that recognizing that Stacy and Izzy are actually an interracial couple. And like Izzy comes from what we can assume is a Mexican family where he probably saw them going 50-50 and both contributing to the household. And clearly Stacy came from a very different financial background. And so she's like, no, my daddy paid for everything. And so I expect that my daddy gonna pay for everything.
Exactly. It's wild, and I don't know if he's ever really going to like get into that with her. But going on with that, she's talking about, oh, I want this couch for the living room, take out this old one, get a bigger one. He's like, I want this big television. Like, you could tell he's getting hype at these ideas. And then she's like, well, if you want that big of a television, you can pay for it. And I'm like, it's jokey jokes right now to say something like that. But
when you in Best Buy, it ain't gonna be no joke no more.
Yeah. So we know that Izzy used to be in business, and he actually told Stacy's dad later, like, oh, I wanted some more work-life balance, which I'm like, I don't know if this man is on that, but okay. And he was like, so I left and I'm going to start in insurance sales. And he says, like, things like insurance, any sales job, it's you get out what you put into it. But it's like, that's still hustle culture, Izzy. I wonder, and hustling to pay for the AC of this woman's house and everything. I don't know.
Right.
So, yeah.
And when he broke it down about his job, that he got a new job right before having to leave for the show. So it's like, oh, I'm sure you do have a job when you go back, but that also means you probably don't have a lot of money because you haven't been making money during the 2 to 3 weeks that you've been away for the show. So Like, I think because it also kind of felt like when he was in conversation with her dad, he was trying to make it seem like, I can do it. And I'm like, I don't think you understand the kind of money that they spend and the type of lifestyle she wants to live.
They're talking about, we had a family trip to France. They're talking about, this man said he just recently got a passport and hasn't been anywhere. They're talking about, the dad's like, yeah, love is blind, but also love wants to fly first class. And it's like, why does it have to be first class?
Right. Right.
But that's what the life she's grown accustomed to, and apparently she's not going to settle for less.
Right.
So
Izzy better figure out what that means for him.
Exactly. Like the Pasha is getting worse. And so she also sees his place. And at first she was like, okay, this is not looking terrible. It wasn't a Milton situation. He says it's a Hobby Lobby apartment. But then, yes, she was like, wait, we don't have bedside tables or not. Bedside tables. And then he said that there's a lost and found drawer in his bathroom. It has bobby pins, little girl's earrings. She's like, whose is this? He's like, I don't know. And she was like, why don't you just throw it away? And he was like, I don't know. And then it becomes a whole back and forth over this lost and found drawer.
Mm-hmm. I see the both and because I get where he was trying to be like, he didn't want to like hurriedly like throw out this thing to try to like make himself appear someone he wasn't, because he wanted to truly show her how he was living. This was his lost and found drawer.
Yeah.
And I get that she's like, why do you have this? Like, why wouldn't you just throw these things away? I felt like she was kind of going overboard with the you're an engaged man piece. I was like, girl, y'all just got home. Like, please calm down. Like,
yeah. We have to remember these people were fully, assumedly, because we're going to talk about somebody being accused of not, but assuming the whole cast was living their single thrown lives before this. So how is he going to dump? He's not even really, like, you're going into Love is Blind being like, sure, I can get engaged, but like, you don't go in thinking, I'm going to be engaged. I need to like throw my whole past away. Like, he could have not been engaged, been one of the people sent back home, and he could have still been hooking up with whoever has their earring in that drawer. So like, what are we talking about here? And so for her, he's like, there's no sentimental value in this, so I don't know why you're mad. And she's like, I know there's no sentimental value, so why didn't you just throw it away? It's very weird. Yeah. But then we get into the kitchen. Ooh. This is when the male part comes out, because this man has no glassware. He got paper plates and he got red Solo cups. And she was like, so hypothetically, if you're going to cook me a meal, you're serving it on a paper plate and a red Solo cup? And he's like, I've cooked women meals before and they were okay. And now he's like, shouldn't gestures matter more than what he views as material things? Her point of view, coming from where she lives, is, don't you care about me enough to have the material things, so I'm not eating off of paper? And this is when the clash is happening.
I was like, okay, Izzy, my dude, you can at least have a couple real plates and a couple real cups.
Truly. How long have you been living here? That's my first question. How long have you been living here?
The fact that he had the red Solo cups in the cabinet, like he gonna wash them and put them back. I'm like, sir, what are we?
I think he's throwing it away. I think he doesn't want to do dishes.
Clearly he doesn't want to do dishes. I'm like, sir, what? Just have like 4 real glasses, 4 plates, and primarily use your paper plates and plastic cups. Yeah, I was like, this is a bit wild, but yeah, I think the class thing is going to be a huge thing for them, and it feels like I'm like, I don't know if Stacy's had friends maybe from different class backgrounds from her, because some of it feels like she's not budging or kind even remotely seeing where he's coming from. And a part of me is worried that Izzy is like a bit naive about how big this is to her. Because I'm like, sis was wearing like a Chanel suit on like in the pods, right? So I'm like, oh, Stacy got big money. She comes from long money. So I don't know if Izzy can even conceive of the type of money that she spends or expectations. Because even when she was talking about a $20,000 HVAC system, I was like, she has the top of the line HVAC system, because I've replaced an HVAC system before and it was like $4,000 or $5,000. So I'm like, oh, she has expectations that she buys the best of the best no matter what. She's flying first class every flight, no matter how far or how close it is. And I don't know if Izzy even understands that.
I don't think he does. I really don't think he does. And he's the type to be like, love wins. And she's just like, I'm not trying to live below what I already have for myself. So yeah, I do notice that during this back and forth, she really was interrupting Izzy. And when he asks, can you please not interrupt me? She just walks away. And I'm like, girl, if you don't let this man talk, wild behavior. So when they meet her family, they actually talk about it. Izzy says that this was actually the best time he had with her, while she was like, I don't feel this way.
Right. And I think, again, also, this is going to be the moment where the difference around emotional like depth is going to come to play, because I think for him, he felt like it brought them closer because they were being honest about who they truly are and learning more about each other. And for her, she's like, we're learning more about each other and we're having conflict. And I don't like that, because that means that we're not as compatible as I had hoped or expected that we would be.
Yes. And honestly, that could also be a class thing. Like white upper crust people, they don't like talking about shit. That like that's a WASP thing.
Right.
And so like him being Mexican and being like, okay, we're really getting into the intimacy where we can have conflict and still have dinner at the end of the day. Like, she's not seeing the value in that. It's uncomfy. It's very uncomfy. So they just have a lot of differences. And I think like studies have shown the biggest differences that are like the hardest to overcome in relationships is actually like class, like more than race, more than like age, it's class. So that's a tough one. Just like how a lot of divorces happen because of money.
Right. Because I think I'm like, sometimes I feel like a part of it is if you don't come from money, there's a lot of things that you just do not understand about the culture and the way those type of societies operate. And like even these nuances, like you named around, like you don't talk about your feelings. You don't talk about things that you don't want. You just barely talk, right? Like you keep up good appearances and that's good enough, right? Whereas like when if you don't come from a lot of money, not to say that all families talk about things, because they don't, but there is a bit more like you recognize that some things you have to talk about, right? Like you just have to.
Yeah, I think so. It's like kind of like the close quarters thing. Like the less money you have, probably the less rooms there are. So you're just gonna have to hash out shit where like big money, people can live on
Huge
opposite house and like
go days without seeing someone else who also lives in the house.
So it's just whew. But we're gonna stop there with them and we're gonna go back over to Milton and Lydia. Okay, so they see each other for the first time at the beginning of this, and Milton, he's insecure about how he looks. He was like, I was trying to like do something with my facial hair so I don't look like a baby, but actually when I got my hair cut, I just look more like a baby. So oh no. And yeah, okay. And this is where I am so suspicious of Lydia, because she's like the first person I remember on Love is Blind to claim that she didn't know if the partner she chose was white or black. She said she didn't know that Milton was white or black.
Yeah, I was like, I have to call BS on that, because if he knew that she was Puerto Rican, you're telling me they never had any conversations about his race at all?
at all, or there's no like telltale signs. You don't know anything about Black culture to like be able to tell. Like that's the thing that actually Love is Blind said so much about race, like being able to take race out of the pods, but it's like you know someone's race. Like there's cultural tells. You can tell sometimes by the voice. Like let's not play dumb.
Right.
So I'm just like, okay, Lydia, sure. So they see each other. Lydia asks Milton how tall he is. This is the first time I ever seen a man lie down
Right.
on his height. Because he was acting like I'm a 5'10" king. She said, for real though, he said 6'7".
Right.
So I don't know how tall she is, but the difference is high. And then what I found very uncomfortable of watching them together is that Milton kept commenting on her English.
Yeah, he kept correcting her every chance he got.
You better start speaking some Espanol so she can start dragging your ass, because what?
Right. It's a two-way street. It's like clearly she's still learning English. So like show her some grace. And also you need to start learning Spanish, because it's clear like Spanish is her first language. Her family speaks Spanish. So if you want her to be your Puerto Rican wife, learn Spanish. Also, after you called him a big baby last week, when I saw him talking about the mustache thing, all I could picture was Tommy in the Rugrats episode where they have a dream that they're an adult, but it's just their baby head on a tall body.
Oh,
it's like,
my God.
why is Milton Tommy Pickles as an adult right now? Just like a baby head on a big body.
That's so funny. Oh, okay. So they're in Mexico. They're kissing. They're by the pool. Once again, he's telling Lydia she needs to work on her pronunciation. It seems like their chemistry, though, is about a little bit of bite back and forth, which I also think is young. It shows Milton's age that's how he flirts, because that was very much how like my first relationship was with a boy growing up. It was like we were actually spending more time like snapping at each other, and that was like chemistry.
And it's not sustainable long term.
No, soon it's going to be like, obviously you really think about this. Like you really think of me like this. You really have a problem with how I speak. And it's getting old. It's getting real old. Or it's getting real old how she says about his age, because I think it kind of really does bother him. He was trying to change up his look just so she wouldn't get on him for that, only for her to still like say things about his age, and he was just like, you're old. Like that's now his go-to with her.
Right. And I think also there were just some moments where it felt like she was being like paternalistic towards him in certain ways of engaging with him. But it's like, girl, you know how young he is. Like, you're not his parent. You are supposed to be his wife.
Uncomfy. Like he's talking about he wants a fuller mustache, and she was just like, no. Which partners tend to have like a comment on like the other person's appearances, but it still gives like moms who like really don't want to see their sons grow out that like gnarly little mustache. They're just like, just keep the baby face, please. It's just, oh my God, it's too much for me. So Lydia says that she's struggling to put his personality to his looks because he looks so young, and it's like, you knew this.
Right. You knew he was 24.
But okay. So Milton also basically confirmed they had sex. So they got it in pretty quickly, which is not surprising. And then we saw a shower scene of them. And
Can I just say, I feel like the queer ultimatum has forever shifted Netflix's like how they portray, because I feel like they kind of showed it a little bit, but clearly the queer ultimatum, it was like the raciest it's ever
Mm-hmm.
been.
Mm-hmm.
And this season of Love is Blind, I'm like, now we getting a shower scene. This is a bit much. Like,
Yeah, they did do. Bartice and Natalie had a bath scene, so that was like reminiscent of Stacy and Izzy's bath scene. But
don't
like,
forget Nancy was talking about poop during that.
oh yeah, yeah, it
She
wasn't
made
sexy.
it way less sexy.
And like, I don't even think that Milton and Lydia's shower scene was sexy. It just was them showering.
Right.
And he's so tall.
Right.
I can't get over how like the height difference was between them in that shower. I was just like, why are we here? And she asked what Milton likes in bed. And this is another tale about his age, because he said sex always feels good. There's no bad sex. And she's like, there's bad sex.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, well, this is what it means to be in a relationship with a 24-year-old.
Yes. He's just happy to be there.
He is. When Stacy was like, Milton is like the surgeon, where he just walks in and he's like, glove me.
Has no clue what he's doing. Just glove me.
No
He's a
clue
glove me guy.
Right. I was like, yeah.
Milton, he reveals that he sits on counters all the time. And he was like, it's perfect because I'm tall. And I was like, that actually makes sense. But Lydia's ass is like not even thinking about that. I think she's still harping on his age. So she was just like, no, chairs and tables exist for a reason. They exist for a reason for the average person. Look at this tall man.
Right.
Look at him.
Right.
His knees are going to hit a goddamn tabletop sitting in a kiddie chair. How about have some grace?
Right. It's like your feet might dangle when you're sitting on a chair. His knees are probably up to his chest in the average chair.
Yeah. When they're back to their life, they find out that they have opposite work schedules. Milton goes to work when Lydia comes home, but he has off 3 days. So that's when they will spend time together. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like when they get back to real life, that's when they start to really, they're out of the bubble. So it's like, what is your lifestyle actually like? What is your job actually like? Because the pods are such a vacuum. I think people do start to forget what it means to have a job, what it means to like, what your apartment actually looks like. And while people, I think, romanticize and look forward to it, it's like, that also means there's opportunities for you to recognize like, oh, snaps, this isn't going to be as fun. Like they're going to spend 4 days like barely seeing each other. And luckily they get 3, but that's just the reality of what it means to be in a relationship with him.
Totally. And also his age comes up in this, that he's like, I'm the youngest one. So basically I have to do a lot of the groundwork. So
right.
Yeah. Lydia visits Milton's apartment. And she's like, this is a college apartment, which is fair. It was barren.
Right.
He did have a headboard. So the headboard propaganda that femmes and women have been spreading is working. Because he was like, you're not going to catch me with that one. So there's that. And we also meet Milton's roommate. And he's just another baby. But he's a baby who's trying to talk up his friend. He's like, no, he's so mature and like ready for marriage. How he talks about you, it's so amazing. And Lydia's just like,
Right. It felt very Tommy and Chucky in that Rugrats adult episode. He like walks in with his backpack and his coffee.
They both just backpacks. Like, oh my god, it's giving tech bro though, just a little bit.
Very much that. Yeah.
We find out Milton's also highly ranked in Pokemon, but also he gets banned because of how much he talks trash. So,
I mean, when he asked her about playing Wii till 4 a.m., she should have already knew.
She sure already knew, and she said yes to that. So
right. Enthusiastically. So now you get to hear about the Pokemon updates.
Yeah, start getting interested. What's your starter Pokemon?
Right. Oh, God.
We do get to a point where Milton meets Lydia's mom, and brother, the brother who is older than him. So, and the older brother got the thicker mustache. I know Milton's hot.
Sick, like, oh.
But so they're talking about like their plans for children, and Milton says he wants 2 biological kids, adopt one, and in the end, there's a little bit of a language barrier with the mom, but she says she likes Milton.
Right. Yeah, the brother seems to like him too, even though he was given a few like judgmental glances. I'm like, I like the brother. Right, as you should. But yeah, they seem like a very warm and loving family. And so I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, no return policy. Like, you're a part of the family. Like, oh, that's so cute. Yeah.
All right. Should we get to Uche and Aaliyah?
Yes.
Uche talks to Milton, Izzy, and JP after he hears from the producers that Aaliyah left. And he was just like sullen. She just left without a word. All of them seem completely shook. And that's when he tells them, well, he knew Lydia before this and actually dated her. Izzy is blindly team Uche, because he was like, well, she's still fucked up for leaving without saying a word. Uche does not immediately back that sentiment up, because I think at that moment he just knows, like,
right,
sir, this
is a lot.
Right. He talks to producers in the interview. They say she got on a plane and left. So Uche is just like, okay, I guess I can try and call Aaliyah. This man, what do you think his goals were in calling Aaliyah?
I don't know what his goals were. I think he wanted to hear what was happening with her. And honestly, Uche gives me vibes like he's constantly in a power struggle in relationships.
Yes.
And I think where Aaliyah messed up, and like I think she just isn't recognizing this obviously in the moment, but she immediately came onto the phone apologetic.
Yes.
And coming onto the phone apologetic, he instantly was able to take the stance of like, he's in power and he's in control now. And now he can judge her for her being in the wrong versus her taking the stance of like, I had to leave because this situation was way too much. And like, I can't do this. Like, we can try to figure out if we want to be together, but I'm not going to stay in a situation where I'm trapped with Lydia and I'm finding all of these things out about the two of y'all. And you tried to be honest with me, but you actually weren't even fully honest with me, because then she's able to keep telling me more and more about y'all's situation.
Yeah. I think sadly, Uche is the type of man you can never apologize to.
No.
You can, because he will take that shit and run all the way to the bank with it. Right. Like, I think his goal, from my perspective of how that conversation even went, I think his goal was just to get the last word. Yep. Like, it felt that way. He gets on the phone with her and she reveals that Lydia and her exchange words. Aaliyah apparently made a little jokey joke of, maybe if we don't work out, then you can have him. And Lydia said, go fuck yourself.
I'm like, oh, it stung because you want him back.
It's like, go fuck yourself. I'm going to go marry a 24-year-old. Get out of here. So, and then Uche was like, but was it a joke though? It wasn't. It wasn't. And we know that, but like, who cares?
Who cares? I'm like, given the context of the situation, she could have said something way worse.
Way worse. Like, got off easy telling her to go fuck herself when you're the one who was lying to her the whole entire time. Get out of here.
Literally.
So, yeah, so she explains that they had an argument. It got too much. She left. And he was like, you didn't even leave a note, da-da-da. And she was like, I think she was trying to explain there was like no time and just how emotional, I guess, she was in leaving. He didn't want to hear any of that because his whole thing was like, well, you didn't think of me. I think that's the big thing is like, I think my theory is that Uche really wants someone who like really puts his feelings over their own.
Yeah.
Like, in that moment, it's not really about you. It's about all the pressure that she's under because of you. Why would she put your feelings first of like, oh, I'm going to write a whole... You know what you did. And I don't even like him painting of like, but you never said you had an issue. We watched her say she had an issue. She said, I'm caged on this other side with Lydia while you get to be over there having a grand old time with the other dudes.
Right.
She said so. So
she told him that.
I'm not even with him being like, I'm completely blindsided. You knew exactly why she left when you came back and you told the guys it's because you knew Lydia before. So why are we playing dumb like she just ghosted you out of nowhere? You don't get away with that. You don't get away with that. And then I hate that he gets like loud with her. He's asking like, how do you feel about her? How do you feel about me? And again, this is something... It's a tactic that I actually really hate in romantic relationships when someone knows they did you dirty, but you're wrong if you ever leave because then you never loved them in the first place. You never cared about them in the first place. Nah, you did someone dirty. They're allowed to like change their mind. But it's then in a position of like, well, you're fake. How dare you abandon me? You're not supposed to have ever abandoned someone. My parents got married and they stayed forever. Bitch, I probably would not want your parents' marriage.
I don't care what your mama did. That ain't me.
What kind of trials and tribulations your parents are putting each other through that you think I should put up with this?
Like, sir, what?
What? That's not goals.
That is not goals at all. Right. He wants someone to sacrifice themselves. I think what is the most frustrating thing about Uche is he constantly asks like he's the only one being chosen.
Yes.
Like he's the prize at all times.
It's not a two-way street at all.
And I'm like, also you have to prove yourself to Aaliyah.
And you messed up proving yourself when you revealed you were lying to her the whole time or keeping a big secret the whole time.
After being on a high horse with her about lying to her ex.
You messed up. Like when he never acknowledges that. Because when she even points out, well, you did. He's like, and I fixed it, right? I did a whole 180, right? And I'm mad that Aaliyah gave him that. And she was like, yeah. It was like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Because look at how he's acting right now. This is you being honest once again, being vulnerable about your feelings, about making a choice that was probably not 100 correct, and him downing you. He's the same person.
He is. And he didn't do a 180. He actually, I feel like at a certain point, he realized if he kept going in on her in that conversation, she would potentially leave, which is exactly what happened. Yes. So he's like, oh, well, you didn't have to tell me that. Like, why would you tell me that? Right. And it's like, oh, I don't want to lose her.
I don't want to push her away.
I don't want to push her away. So I got to chill out on this. I got to give her some space. Right. And it's like, no, he's an asshole. Like, Aaliyah, you are so sweet. He's an asshole.
He did her a favor by pushing her away because the worst thing is actually when these men know how they're going to do you and treat you, but wait until marriage or a baby to trap you into that.
Right.
So you can't go anywhere because that's the real goal is I want you to go nowhere no matter what I do. And that's scary. So
it is.
It's, I hate... I hate that they go to this restaurant. They talk about everything that happened. She says she regrets leaving, loves him, and he shows even more. This is my thing. What was the game plan? Because Lydia and Uche are sitting here acting like, oh, shit was cool. We that's a good man. That's a good woman, Savannah. Good man, Savannah. You should marry him, Savannah. Only for things to switch up once things ain't cool anymore. Your first little hiding and okie doke is wearing on Aaliyah. So they're like, we gotta switch tactics. He said, well, Lydia, she has crossed his boundaries before, and actually things didn't end so well as like he said. And, really painting himself to be the victim. And he does this multiple ways. Not only did Lydia supposedly do creepy things, like creepy, like invading his privacy. But then also he says that Lydia has told a couple of the girls. Oh, no. Aaliyah says.
Yeah.
Aaliyah says Lydia told a couple of girls she had a feeling of seeing someone.
Mhm.
So she asked, like, how do we not know that she has, you know, looked into your email or something? And the first time she brought that up on the phone, why did he snap out on her? Because he's like, are you serious? She's like, how do we know she didn't know you were going to be here? You snapped out on her when she said that, like she was crazy. But now all of a sudden at this restaurant, all of a sudden, well, Lydia is a stalker. So
this is what I can't stand about Uche, because also I'm sure we'll get to his conversation with Milton, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm just like, he will do and say anything to make himself the victim in that moment and make the other person feel bad.
Yes.
And again, it's like Aaliyah, the moment he walked into the restaurant, she was like, thank you for meeting me because you didn't have to. I'm like, girl, don't give this nigga nothing. Because the moment you give him an inch, he will take 30 miles just to make you feel like you're a horrible person. And that's exactly what he came to that restaurant to do. Because let's be real, he took her leaving as rejection.
Yes.
And he was shook that she would just leave without saying anything to him. Like, why would she do that? That's the thing. That's the scary part about someone like Uche, because he knows, like, he makes 6 figures. He owns a nice house. He drives a Tesla. He has 2 good jobs. He's black, right? Like, how rare of someone like him, of his caliber, is. So he feels like he can treat his partners like shit. And they should stay there because of how great of a man he is. And I'm like, Aaliyah, he ain't worth all of this. Because the fact of the matter is, he and Lydia lied to you for weeks. And he might not have known that Lydia was going to get as close to you as she did. But the moment that he started telling you the truth, he also wasn't telling you the full truth.
No, and that's why Lydia had the upper hand. She was like, I was getting more information from Lydia than you. You were sloppy. When you decided to be truthful, you should have been 100% truth. Instead, he's twisting it of like, you let this other woman come between us. Nah, I let your irresponsibility of not being able to tell the truth come between us, rightfully so too.
Right. He's like saying Lydia's some girl like he didn't have sex with her 90 days ago. She ain't just some girl. She's your ex that you were talking enough to that you would have sex with again within 3 months of coming in on this show.
Mm-hmm. Now he had one teeny good point, and he said, you know, I didn't want to badmouth her because then you would have thought, well, does he just talk about all the women he associates with? So, and he put it, it was damn if I do, like it was damn if I don't kind of situation, and it's like, you just needed a pick. You could have been like, you didn't have to like go in, but just say what the facts were. Like, don't label, because I hate when men say, oh, my ex is crazy. Don't do that. But be like, but she invaded my privacy. And like, all you needed to do was say the facts. That's all she wanted from you.
Right.
Why is that so hard? Ugh, I was so mad. I was like, Aaliyah, you should have never reached out to this man. Because at the end of it, he says, you know, Aaliyah, I came home. You like followed me on Instagram. You left me a voice message. Then you unsent that voice message. And then you blocked me. And now we're here. And like, I'm just going to end it. And I was like, Aaliyah, why did you do all that? Why did you do? Like, someone needed to take your phone, girl. Someone needed to take your phone.
Because it's like, she's such an earnest person that she's not even realizing that she's in a power struggle. It's like, she's not fighting for power, but Uche clearly is. And he'll take any opportunity he gets to have the upper hand on her. And thinks that, because it's completely normal to be like, oh, I really want to talk to him. I have so many things to say to him. I'm going to send this voice message. Oh shit, I shouldn't have said none of what I just said to him. Like, I don't actually want to see him. Like this, like her back and forth emotions are so, like, that's so normal, especially they're met in the type of experiment that they did, you know, like.
And the type of mind games he played of withholding so much from her. She was fighting with herself because of the mind game that he started. And she's trying to figure out how to best finish it. Oof. But you know what? She is free.
She's free.
She's free.
And she did bring up a good point of he was asking about Milton and Lydia.
Yes.
And it's like, why did you want to know? What did that matter to you if you didn't want to be with her?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't even think he had even a good response to that because I didn't even note it. Like,
right.
He just pushes every sketchy thing he does aside. So, we're down to 2 engaged couples, right? The producers are sweating. They're like, what are we going to do now? We only have 2 couples and we got a whole season to still make. So they decide we're going to invite the whole pod squad back for a gathering. At the start of this, Stacy's mad at Johnny because she finds out that Johnny shit talked her, which she did. She was like, Izzy's never gonna be like satisfied with her, but blah. So Johnny killed that relationship. We find out Johnny works hard, bitch.
I was like,
she said, I'm gonna leave with something. I'm gonna leave with something, and it's a relationship. I'm gonna get a relationship somehow. So she crawled back to Chris. Apparently, they were on the plane. She overheard him on the phone, and Chris's ass all of a sudden took her hand, and I'm like, what?
I was like, Chris, I was rooting for you.
I was rooting. Chris.
Stand up.
Stand up. Johnny's mom, because Johnny's mom was like, you need to sit on down somewhere.
Right.
But Johnny's mom, she sees poor Chris. And she said, this is the best man you ever brought home. And I'm like,
is that saying a lot?
Truly.
I'm like, is that saying a lot?
Is it saying
a lot? And
I still want to know how genuinely does Johnny feel about Chris? Because I've been there. I've been there where I made a whole... Me and my mom's relationship was a disaster over one boy that I was dating. So I decided to really double back and get a boy that I wasn't even really interested in, but she approved of. And it's like, still not living for yourself. I just want to know, like, okay, like, just the fact, Johnny, that you're trotting out that your mama likes him, that's still about someone else's feelings than your own. And the whole reason why we've gone through this merry-go-round is that you can't figure out what the hell you want.
Right. Because let's be real, I don't think you want Chris. But he's a good man. And you should want someone like him. He's someone that your family will love. She said herself, she can see her entire life with him.
And she said it was going to be boring.
Period. And it's still going to be boring. And she's still going to dump him once she finds someone else more exciting.
We'll see. I think if her and Chris get any fans from Love is Blind, that can make it a little bit more exciting than just like what it was off rip. But it's still wild. So yeah, Johnny is so self-deprecating in the worst way, because when the other pod men were talking to both of them, Johnny tells one of the guys that she had to force Chris to date her, but it's fine.
Like,
Johnny. Gotta clean this up.
And it's like, you should have just left that man where he was.
Truly.
Like, what are we doing this for?
I don't know. Next, Izzy was like, I gotta talk to Johnny. Okay, sir. So he sits her aside. He calls her sketchy. He says that she went around saying the same thing to different people. Honestly, Johnny was like, true. She does not deny this. Izzy said that, talking about whether he was the same as the guys she dated in the past, she was like, true. She was like getting mad and wanting to chime in, but like at the end she was just like, it's accurate. So I was like, why are you getting mad then? Anything he's saying. But yeah, she said, you know what? You were right. We're just not the right people for each other. True.
Right.
Also true. But then Izzy was like, let me give you a piece of advice. And Johnny was like, I don't need it.
Right. Nor do I want it. Nobody asked you for advice, Izzy.
No one asked you. And he keeps going, and she really just sits there and takes it. This is when Johnny could have just gagged him and just got up and left, honestly.
Right.
Oh, I don't need it. Bye.
Right. And gotta, like, have a nice life.
Yeah. So he gave her the advice that she was sketchy.
Right. He's like, everyone here thinks you're sketchy as well. Like, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Well, we needed to get rid of sketchy from the conversation and just talk about what was really the issue. And the issue is that Johnny wanted to talk shit about her relationship with Izzy and Stacy, not knowing anything about it. And that's a reasonable reason for Stacy and Izzy to be upset. But instead of just saying that, he wanted to like rehash everything of like how things ended and just saying, well, everyone says you're sketchy. No, Johnny, you need to apologize for what the heck you said about me and Stacy, because that was unnecessary.
Right, because I thought he was going to use the literal example of, you told the women in the lounge that I had bad credit, and I know that you were talking shit about Stacy. Like use examples, be explicit, because I'm like, I don't think everyone thinks Johnny's sketchy. I think you and Stacy, I think Izzy and Stacy literally felt that about her, which would be fine, because literally he was her number one till all of a sudden he chose Stacy, and then she's like, he's not all that anyway, he's not going to be happy with Stacy, he got bad credit, he ain't got no money, you know. I'm like, but you was ready to marry him before he picked Stacy, so what's the truth?
So he gets all riled up. And, like, I think some people might question if Izzy's emotions was also that Johnny was still his first pick. And he's mad that she's now with Chris. Do you think that has anything to do with it?
I mean, I don't think he knew that when she first came in, did he? Right.
No, he was like, who is that? And I think someone had to tell him that's Johnny.
Right. Yeah, I feel like, I think the realty was he was upset about the things she said about him after he chose Stacy, but he didn't want to repeat it also.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was very upset, and I was just like, why are you so upset? Oh, because she said you had bad credit and you were broke on TV.
Yeah. He's really into Stacy. I don't think from seeing both of them that he's switching up on that. But I think even with everything that him and Stacy have talked about, money is obviously very important. And he's like, you're not gonna fuck up what I got going on with Stacy talking about my credit like this. So yeah. So Johnny walks away. She's crying. She tells Chris he basically called me a bad person.
Right. Like, he didn't call you a bad person. He just said you were sketchy.
He called you sketchy. Let's not switch it up.
Right.
And Chris was just like, oh, you're not a bad person. It's like the most limpest like defense.
Right.
But I think he's just not a reality TV drama person.
No.
So I mean, that's where probably Johnny's like a little bit of the boring. You're not in the drama like me.
Right. Because she probably was hoping that he was going to go up to Izzy and being like, what did you say to my girl? Like, and he's just like, you're not a bad person, babe.
Yeah.
But that's it.
And like, honestly, Stacy had the same energy because Izzy's like, can I talk to you? And she's like, okay. And he's just like, like he wants the body slam.
And Stacy's like, why are you so upset?
She's like, you're like real hype right now. I'm going to need you to take it down a few notches. And he's like, I just told her everything. I just told her she's sketchy. And she was like, yeah, she is. And like Stacy took the most southern white woman. She's like, we should pray for her.
Right. Stacy's like, well, it's none of my business that she's making no. Right. Literally. Now she literally called this girl a lost soul. Yeah.
She was pulling things from her white ancestors of dragonry.
And I feel like Stacy also was kind of looking at Izzy like, I don't even know why you talked to her to begin with.
Exactly.
But I feel like she was not going to say that on camera, but I'm sure when they got home, she was like, why did you even talk to her?
She really, I think, wants Izzy to be just about her. I think she gets like really upset when it's like him even associated with any kind of woman, like the mystery woman in the body tins she had like beef with. So it's like so she was just like, oh, why are we talking about Johnny? And honestly, if I'm on Love is Blind and my partner wanted to talk about some pod girly, I'd be like, nah. He never actually got to the bottom of it. I think Stacy's energy would have been different of like, you should have not have talked about Stacy this way. But she's realizing like, oh, you didn't even defend me. Right. You and Johnny are going toe to toe for what?
Right.
So yeah, and he kept saying, oh, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for you. And she was like, bitch, do not be grateful.
Don't compare me. Right.
You need to be doing all this because you.
Right. Don't be grateful for me because you think these other women are crazy. Yeah. You should just be grateful for me because I'm me.
Exactly. And that's the right energy to have.
Right.
So, and Izzy knew he messed up. He was not getting, it's so obvious he was not getting what he wanted out of Stacy in that moment. And he just like looked like a little deflated of like, oh, she's not feeling like she's in my corner.
Right. I think what Johnny said about them being emotionally volatile was actually spot on, because I think them going back to their respective partners with this amped up energy and both of their partners being so calm and kind of looking at them slightly confused.
Yeah.
Spotlighted how emotionally volatile they are. Because then it's like when you ask them to repeat back what they talked about, it's like that really don't even make sense.
It's not even coherent.
Right?
Yo, if Izzy picked Johnny, they would have made it all the way to the end, but it would have been a whole roller coaster. I think
it would have.
I think the producers are probably like, dang
it.
Okay, so the next Uche comes back to make his grand appearance again. He said, I'm the messy bitch. You thought Johnny was the messy bitch. You thought Izzy was the messy bitch.
The fact
playing with my name.
The fact that Carter gave him an intro song of "Hey, we want some Uche." Uche's like, yes, I'm that bitch. I'm here to start some shit. Let's go. Looks at the food and immediately goes, Lydia, can we talk?
She said Aquarian things, Nigerian things.
What?
Like, calm down.
Please calm down, sir.
You're not a main cast member anymore. So, Uche, he pulls aside Lydia. Lydia literally said, I don't want to talk to you.
I don't, but okay. But if I have to,
by this time, I think Lydia knows how to handle Uche because this is the energy Aaliyah needed with him, but she hasn't gone through the whole rigmarole like Lydia has. Lydia now has learned you give Uche nothing.
And the fact that she is engaged and he's not, I'm sure puts the battery in her back extra hard.
So they go to a private, it looks like a conference room. Where are they having this party? Right. That there's a conference room to have this little fight. He accuses her of lying and going through his things when they were in a relationship. And he really tries to like calmly set the thing up and like, remember you lied? And she was like, remember you lied too? Like, this is the energy Aaliyah needed. Every time he pulled up her seat, she needs to pull up her seat too. Cause he's trying to stack a case. Cause he's a lawyer. Nah. So then he's like, well, you went through a drawer. And I was like, okay, if your stuff does not belong in that drawer, you did go through his things, just. And then she gets up to leave. She was like, I'm not going through this whole past thing. For some reason, she comes back. I really wonder how that happened. And then Milton's just in his hoodie. He was just not giving a fuck. Just in a hoodie and some jeans. Everyone's dragging him because everyone got dressed up. He's like, look, I'm the main cast member. I actually got engaged.
Right. I'm
So-
appropriately dressed. Y'all are overdressed, especially for most of y'all not to even be engaged right now.
It looks like you don't have a crew following you. It looks like this is all new for you. So Milton comes in and they're like, so Lydia and Uche have just been like, I guess, fighting for like a while. And he was like, and I like actually how Milton moved about this. This was actually giving grown man. This was actually giving attractive. Because he was like, oh, word, this man wants to talk to my fiance in a private room. Let me go in there and sit. And he was like, so just want to let you know, we have plans in 10 minutes. I was like, beautiful. Beautiful. You act like you get that fake phone call like, oh, emergency, I guess we gotta go. Lydia was like, I can use a little bit more screen time though. So he was like, okay. He doesn't take any agency from her. He goes. And Uche accuses her of watching women that he knew Instagram stories for weeks. This girl talk about, well, I don't know how the algorithm works. Lydia. You're smart, Lydia. You're a smart woman. What are you talking about? The algorithm does not pop up people you don't follow story. Like, you search for that shit. What are you talking about? So he's like, here's the messages of these girls saying, who is this woman who keeps looking at my stories? And she's just like, huh? And you know what? I think she's a few drinks in. The eyes are glazed over. So, but she was just like, I don't know. And then he said that you've taken a picture of my place one time, sent it to me saying like, I see you. And she was like, when he said that, she was like, 2 + 2. You trying to say I'm stalking you? The look on her face though, when she says it's fucking comical. Yo, she was so drunk, but also it was actually a little scary. The eyes.
It was.
Of like, he thinks I'm stalking him. Comical.
I'm like, Lydia, because I think you were probably stalking him, just a little girl. Like
I don't know.
Not you watching the friends' stories. That's a bit much.
It's a lot. And I think she probably felt like Uche was interested in other women. I don't know if they were exclusive or not.
Right.
She later says that he did sleep with another woman. And which made it hypocritical that he went in on Aaliyah, which was very interesting. But again, I don't know if they're exclusive or what.
Right.
And I think she does what a lot of people feel the need to do, of like, I feel, and my intuition tells me something's up. And instead of just leaving, of like, this doesn't feel like a secure relationship, they need evidence. They need confirmation. And she did some digging and got that confirmation. And now it's Uche feeling like you disrespected my privacy, and her being like, you disrespected me by seeing and talking to other people. So
right. And again, it comes back to the way both of them were talking to Aaliyah when they told the truth, or like when they let her know that they were exes, right? And they both were trying to paint this beautiful picture of like, each one of them are a great person and they deserve love. And like, I would only ever see him as Aaliyah's husband.
What was the plan?
What was the plan? And it, I mean, obviously when they were telling the story, their stories didn't match up. There seemed to be major holes in it. And now once they're realizing that it felt like every time either one of them felt Aaliyah was turning on them, that's when they were like, okay, it's time to throw the other one under the bus. Yes. And then it comes to the head when they meet each other. And then you start to learn all of these things. They both did too much and trying to convince Aaliyah that the other was a good person, just for them to turn around and be like, actually, this is how horrible of a person the other one is.
And that's why Aaliyah was right to ghost both of them.
Period. She should have went home and should have never looked back.
Because you guys are a fucking mess.
A hot mess. And I hope when she watches this, or
she's going to feel real happy. that she
Right.
just left, because none of
Right.
them look good in the light. None of them.
No.
And that's why she also brought up, like, her mind was trying to make sense of what the heck their plan was, because she was like, did you guys just want to be on this show together? And he was like, how? And she was like, you could have just done the ultimatum. He was like, how would that have worked? I would have, like, gone back and we would have pretended we didn't know each other to our friends and family. And she's like, I don't know, Uche, because this doesn't make sense. Nobody in this experience has ever had this problem. So what was
Right.
your game plan? Both of you acting like you were cool when you're so obviously not cool.
At all. And it's like he's like, well, you didn't trust our relationship. And it's like, this is
You
a
didn't
lot.
trust me with this information.
Period. You didn't. You didn't.
So how am I gonna have more trust than you? You didn't trust me to, like, do what I needed to do with this information. So
Right. And leaving
like,
it up to Lydia to give me the rest of the facts and details of what happened between y'all.
and if you knew that Lydia is such an untrustworthy source, why wouldn't you want to beat her to the punch? Like, if she's your stalker, why wouldn't you, like?
And if she's your stalker, why would you get so upset with Aaliyah for, like, being like, she might have saw that you were going on the show and applied to be on the show with you?
Yeah.
Because it seemed like she is capable of doing something like that.
Like, what is going on? So it's a hot mess. Where do we even leave? I think Lydia finishes her conversation with Uche, and I think maybe she's trying to, like, reach out to Milton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Uche has a conversation with Milton.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we see the end of this. How do you think this is gonna go?
Well, we do see him tell Milton that I think she knew that I was going to be on the show and she applied to be here with me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, maybe she did. Because he, like, is straight up trying to convince Milton that she's a stalker. Like,
Straight up.
Straight up. So I'm like, she might be. But again, my thing is, like, I feel like now Uche's trying to push this narrative because it makes him look good.
Yep.
Again, it makes him the ultimate victim of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, whether she did or she didn't, I mean, it'd be wild as hell if she did.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Milton's not going to care. Because at this point, I think also Milton sees Uche for who he is. And Milton's not going to give him an inch.
Milton doesn't respect Uche.
He doesn't. He didn't respect him in the pods.
He's the one who has, like, truly stayed consistent of, like, kind of fuck you, Uche. Because, like, Uche has the most condescending sense. And he tried to get him to open up about the Lydia situation from the other men in the, like, male quarters. And Milton was like, can we stop having this conversation?
Right.
Cool. Let's stop having the conversation. Like, Milton, if push comes to shove, I think Milton's pretty level-headed, but I could also see him being, like, very calmly dragging Uche, and Uche would try to, like, also stay on the same level. Like, they both are the type of, like, I don't want to prove that you can get under my skin.
Right. But I think
it's
the
Aquarian
difference
and Libra energy.
Oh, air sign fight. But I feel like the difference is Uche really does care what people think about him. And I feel like Milton kind of is at that place where he's like,
Milton rolled up in a freaking hoodie.
Because he has no fucks to give.
No, he's like, I'm a Pokemon baddie.
You can't see me, okay?
What? With my level 100 Charmander and shit? What? You can't beat me.
And I knew he didn't. He's the type to not care because of how long he went in that argument with Lydia about the blue or the gray shorts versus the black shorts. Of her trying to, like, mom him into wearing the black shorts. Yes. And he was like, no. She locked him out of the closet. He's like, no. I'm still gonna wear my gray shorts.
Yes.
Like, he don't care.
I'm not a child. I'm not trying to go twinning with you. And she was like, and it's so funny. It's a little funny to me. It's a little funny to me when women and femmes, like, they play into the infantilization. They're like pouting and they think they're like, if they bat their eyes, it's just gonna be so cute, and like the men will fold. And the fact that he was like,
anyway, move.
Get your little 5-foot self out of here. I'm gonna wear my shorts like a grown man.
And I feel like he, being as young as he is in the space that he's in, he's probably also used to dealing with men like Uche, who constantly are trying to make themselves feel important and superior to everyone around them.
Absolutely.
And Milton's aware of how intelligent he is, and like, you know, but at the heart of it, he's like a goofball also. So he's always trying to have a good time, like laughing, not taking himself too serious. And Uche takes himself very serious, which makes it easy to get under his skin. But he's so busy trying to convince everyone that they can't get under his skin, but Milton can see straight through him.
And as a fellow Libra, we don't do the whole like unequal relationships very well.
Right.
We're going to try and balance that shit out. Like, I don't care your age, your profession. We as human beings, we're going to see equal.
Right.
So, and I love that for Milton.
Me too. I'm like, yes, humble Uche.
Because like my like somewhat worry is that Lydia could like run all over Milton, and so far it seems like he's not. If she got jokes, he got jokes.
Right. Now you straight up call her old.
Straight up, and it's like, I know that's gonna get old real fast. So okay, so Izzy and Stacy, are they saying I do or I don't at this point in the process?
I think Izzy will say I do. I feel like Stacy might say I don't.
Okay.
Because I feel like Izzy is in love with Stacy, and he's a very like love wins type of person.
Yeah.
And I feel like if Stacy keeps thinking on it, the money thing is going to be a bigger issue.
Yeah.
That they won't be able to get over.
Yeah, I don't even think she has acknowledged the credit card debt conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And she's the one that really wanted to like dig deep into finances. So we have yet to see that. Yeah, I think that's a big possibility. What about Lydia and Milton saying I do or I don't at the altar?
I think they will both say I do. Lydia wants a man.
She wants a man. She
wants a man so bad. So I think she's going to say I do. And I feel like Milton's going to say I do too, because Lydia gets his humor. And I think he does like dating women who are older, because he mentioned that. Yeah, like there have been no conflicts so far around his humor. So I feel like if they're able to not have any major blowups, which it seems like his family is going to be a potential sticky point, because his family in the preview says like, what does a 30-year-old want to do with a 24-year-old at all? So depending on how that interaction goes,
they're going to be a lot harder on the situation for sure. Yeah, that's true. Okay, do we have a BB moment in these episodes? A beautiful black moment. Nothing was beautiful about Uche and Aaliyah this time around. I mean, Love Jones in the worst way, baby.
Right. I think just Aaliyah, like the moment they put the camera on her when she's in the restaurant, just the white dress and her hair, she just looks so beautiful and angelic.
I think she's going to come back for the reunion. They have to. And I can't wait to see what she's going to look like. She's going to look so fierce. I can't wait. She's going to have so much time and so much more ammo.
I hope she's been watching, writing notes. Like,
I want her to go guns blazing. I want her to write a poem and do spoken word poetry and just drag all three of them. Maybe make a song, play that Fender. I want a whole segment just for Aaliyah. Because justice for Aaliyah, truly. I don't care. I don't care if Lydia did go into this to like ruin Uche's experience. What I care about is Aaliyah.
Right. I hope she drags both Lydia and Uche for filth on the reunion.
Yeah. Okay, so Milton. We're left with Milton for a beautiful black moment. Him and his roommate were cute.
Yeah.
They were
Tommy and Chucky.
Black Tommy and
And
Chucky.
Chucky.
Talking about their Pokemon.
Oh my gosh.
Apparently Chucky gets to have all the cow rugs because
Oh my gosh.
Lydia was not feeling them.
She wasn't. She wasn't at all.
Have a chaotic bisexual moment. Everything was pretty straight.
Very heterosexual.
I think everything is pretty hetero unless Lydia was like looking at those girls' Instagram stories and was like, actually, I'm gonna steal your bitch.
Right. Oh,
I don't think we have a bisexual moment.
We'll meet Izzy's. They're gonna have the two families that are the least on board with this whole situation. Got it.
It's definitely an episode. They're gonna have to change format in some kind of way to fill in because that's still like another episode.
This Pod Squad is gonna be working hard this season. I mean, they have to because there's not enough couples to make up content.
They should have followed more people because there was, again, more people getting engaged that they just decided not to follow because the Uche, Lydia, Milton of it all was just so interesting.
Right.
It came at a cost. Yeah, so that's all we have today. Quita, is there anything you want people to check out in between now and our next recap?
It's not going on with me, but it is going on in the city of Atlanta. We're about to get political real quick. I'm wearing my FTP earrings. And if you didn't know, the city of Atlanta, I think a city clerk, published the names and addresses and phone numbers of everyone who signed the Stop Cop City referendum petition in the city of Atlanta to try to publicly intimidate the citizens of Atlanta who are speaking out against Cop City. So if you aren't plugged in, you should check out Stop Cop City on Instagram. There are actions happening around the country of folks in solidarity with folks in Atlanta who are fighting back because however you feel about prison abolition, I think we can all agree that $90 million being spent on a political war zone in the middle of a city when people are facing inflation, houselessness, like a lack of investment in public schools. There's a lot more things that $90 million can be invested to, like the people, and not a playground for the police. So check that out on Instagram, Stop Cop City.
Yeah, I'll also put that link in below. For me, I am still writing over at Collider. I wrote a piece about why I think Uche and Lydia should have never made it this far. So I will drop that link below. I also wrote an article about JP and why his whole comment about makeup was wrong, and if there's anyone who is defending JP that you know of and you don't feel like going into an explainer of why he was wrong, you can just simply share that link. That's my public service.
Right.
And you know, I'm still over here again doing interviews for Big Brother 25 and you know, TV to table is still happening. I'm going to try and force Jordan to make bacon, egg, and cheese because we just keep saying it from Ninja Turtles, Ninja Turtles. So yeah, hopefully we can make one of those and have that video up. But yeah, that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for watching or listening. There's so many of you guys who watched the last one and have so many good comments, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, excited to see y'all next week.
See how the whole conclusion happens with the love triangle. This has to be the last episode. It has to be. We can't drag it.
It needs to be buried. We're done here. Free my girl Aaliyah from this hellscape.
Free her. All right. Bye.
Bye, y'all.